Joe, good to see how you doing. Evening, Joe. How you been? What's up, Miles? What's up, CMF? Kerry, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? T, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Pablo, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Manny, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Evening. How you been? Comatose, hey Miles, the CMF. Good to see you all, Comatose. How you been? How you been? Hi Miles, how's it going? Autistic is going great. How's it going for you? How you been? Hello Miles, Yard, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Good evening, Miles, and all CMF. Good day for shopping. Definitely is. Yes, 100%. JP, good to see you as well, brother. Well, hello, Miles. Paul, good to see you as well. How you been, Paul? Long time. Hi, Miles and CMF. Dennis, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? So, let's do a little breakdown of what we're going to be going from tonight's live, because a few things have happened, and a few institutional announcements have been made as well inside the crypto space, which is all about a boost that's coming inside the crypto space this year, especially on the Trump's essentially presidency. But the first thing we are going to be covering on tonight's episode 236 of the CMF Live, by the way, which is incredible. So on episode 236 of the CMF Live, the first thing we're going to be covering is regarding the dip inside the market space, and regarding what essentially caused the dip, how long is the dip going to be lasting, and essentially when we're going to be picking up and going further on. Then we're going to be talking about the Czech Republic on tonight's live, another country that's decided to essentially come forward and think about starting a Bitcoin reserve. And then we're going to be talking about essentially Bitwise on tonight's live, regarding Bitwise, who manages $5 billion in assets under management and so on. They essentially came out with a new report of what they think the market's going to play out in 2025 until 2029. Then we're going to be talking about on tonight's live regarding the new developments that have happened between the SEC case and Coinbase. A victory essentially has happened for Coinbase against the SEC. Then we're going to be talking about US and China war situation in terms of tariffs and so on. How's that really going to be playing out inside the cryptocurrency space? The more pressure America puts on China, is that a good thing or a bad thing for the crypto space? We're going to go through that on tonight's live as well. Then we're going to be talking about another company that's came out of Wall Street, giving their perspectives on the market space, on how things are going to be playing out this year. And then we're also going to be talking about tonight's live regarding President Trump, how President Trump has slammed the Fed over skyrocketing interest rates. President Trump has said that the Biden administration has left the U.S. economy in a complete mess. And he's not lying. The U.S. economy is genuinely in a complete mess right now. And he talked about how the Fed is just over-exaggerating things and making the economy much more worse before he comes in. Then we're going to be talking about tonight's live regarding the matters of the CFTC chairman. Not only are we going to be seeing the resignation of Gary Gensler on January 20th, but we're also going to be seeing the resignation of Rustam Benham on essentially January 20th as well, who is the CFTC chairman. Then we're also going to go through news topics on related to crypto quant, another company that we've kept on talking about throughout the years. CryptoCon's CEO has came forward and essentially predicts that we're going to be having the longest bull market we've ever had in crypto history. Something very similar to what I've said previously multiple times, that we're not going to be in the same cycles moving forward. And even in 2024, I said going into 2025, we're going to be seeing essentially an extended bull run, because we're going to be going into utility, which is now what's been repeated by a CEO of a Wall Street company on what I exactly essentially said. Then we're going to be talking about on tonight's live regarding the matters of Canada's new Prime Minister. Now, we talked about Canada's essentially Prime Minister situation yesterday, how Justin Trudeau essentially decided to just get up and leave, compared to the massive mess he's caused in Canadian politics and Canadian finance and so on. And we're going to be talking about the person that's going to be most likely chosen to be next in charge, and how much pro-crypto-ness he's going to be bringing to the Canadian financial system. Then we're also going to go through news topics related to Nasdaq. Now, the Nasdaq has decided to essentially seek approval from the SEC to raise their bids and their positions and limits to 250,000 contracts from the 25,000 contracts already for the Bitcoin ETF space. Then we're going to be talking about essentially the SEC chairman. Now, we all know the new SEC chairman coming into power is going to be Paul Atkins. But we've just received some news that Paul Atkins has been going around and having sit-downs with people who are pro-crypto as politicians and seeing what matters, essentially they come up with and how much more easing they can bring to the process of the SEC. And then we're going to be talking about Ripple adapting Chainlink into their payment systems and a new perspective coming out from a very prominent crypto analyst, one of the longest crypto analysts inside the crypto space, Peter Bandit, and his new predictions of what XRP could potentially do this year. So, major news, mixture of news to go through as well on tonight's live. But before we go through any of those news topics, and the first one we are going to be discussing is why the markets dipped today slightly. Before we go through any of those topics, just want to say to everyone watching right now, welcome to the CMF Live. If you're watching this for the first time ever, the CMF Live stands for Crypto Miles Family. My name is Miles. I go by the persona of Crypto Miles, and I'm your host Monday to Friday for the CMF Live, 11:25 p.m. UK time onwards. On this live, I talk about the most recent news that's happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrency, CBDCs, AI, politics, regulations, vital information for you to know about regarding the world completely transforming into a digital space. This is episode 236 of the CMF Live, which is incredible that we're on episode 236 right now. And we also do Q&As on this live as well, which means if you do have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. And the disclaimer of this live, as always, is not financial advice, not political advice, and what advice is only for entertainment purposes. So, welcome to the CMF Live if you're watching this for the first time ever. And if you're regular, let's go CMF. Now, before we go through the first news topic, which is regarding why the markets dipped slightly today, let's go inside the comment section first, and then we go straight into the first news. So let's see where we were at inside the comment section. We were here. Yes, sir. Chozone. Let's go. How you doing? How's today been, Miles and CMF? Lena's been great. How you doing, Lena? How you been? Good day, Miles. Mike, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Morning, Miles and CMF. Shelly, good to see you. How you doing? Morning. How you been? Hi, Miles. Yama, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Hi, Miles and CMF. Stormy, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Good evening, brother Miles, and good evening, CMF. Funky brother, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Hello, Miles. How you doing? I'm doing great, Connie. Good to see you as well. How you doing? Good times, Miles, to buy again. It definitely is, without a doubt, 100%. Obviously not financial advice in any sort of a way. Sup, Miles and family. Bye, Gary. Definitely bye, Gary. Yes. Miles, dumpings and price on Fed issue. Yep, pretty much the Fed issue, which we're going to go through tonight. Utility bull run, which is basically what's happening. Facts. Let's go, Davey. Good evening, Miles and family. Orphan, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Miles, is Chainlink a partner of Ripple? Yes. Buy the rumor, sell the news. Afterwards, buy back in. Basic, but correct. Hello, Miles and CMF. Scott, good to see you. How you doing? Share the live. Let's go, Scott. Miles, now Chainlink is a partner with XRP. Now, does that mean Chainlink is better than HBro? No. Chainlink plays a different role inside the utility space, and HBro plays a different role inside the utility space, and XRP plays a different role, XLM plays a different role, XTC plays a different role. They're all playing different roles in this digital world that we're going to be living in. They all have their benefits and, essentially some negatives as well, but they all play essentially different roles in this world we're going to be living in. Scott, let's go. How you doing? Now, first news on tonight's live. Why has the crypto markets dumped? Slightly. Not majorly, but dumped slightly. So here it is. Bitcoin dips below $98,000 as strong US data triggers liquidations. The crypto markets today took a hit as Bitcoin fell below $100,000 mark. The stronger than expected US economic data that essentially dampened the optimism in digital assets, reversing recent gains. The Bureau of Labor Statistics announced an unexpected essentially increase in November jobs, posting to 8.1 million above expectations of 7.7 million. Meanwhile, the ISM Services and Purchasing Managers Index, which measures economic activity in service sectors, increased to 54.1 in December, up from 52.1 in November, and beyond estimates of 53.3. A significant component of the survey, the prices paid, essentially sub-indexes, rose to 64.4, indicating a greater expenses. These reports, although not usually major market movers, unsettled financial markets already sensitive to interest rate expectations. The yield on 10-year essentially US Treasury bonds rose to 4.68%, near multi-year highs, while US stocks dipped. The Nasdaq fell over The Nasdaq fell over 1%, and the S&P 500 lost 0.4% in the morning trading. Bitcoin fell from just under $101,000 to $96,600, losing 5% in 24 hours after the release of the strong economic data points. Other major cryptocurrencies sharper declines, with Ethereum and Solana dropping 6 to 7%, while Avalanche, essentially AVAX, dropped to 8 to 9%, and essentially Chainlink did the same, similar to 8 to 9% as well in drop prices. The price drop caused about $300 million in losses for traders who had bet on rising prices, marking the first significant market shakeup of the year, according to Coinbase. Investors no longer expect a rate cut in January. The chances of a rate cut in March have fallen to 37%, down from the 50% last week, according to the CME, essentially Fed Watch tool. The odds of the rate cut in May are also less than 50%. Looking ahead to 2025, Kyle Champion, essentially from Banger Group, said investors now expect only one small rate cut of 0.25% for the whole year. Is that what we're going to be getting? Are we only going to be getting one rate cut for the year, this year? No. Look, as much as the Fed wants to, inflate the numbers, let's say, or fabricate the numbers, because that's what they're doing. The Fed is playing around with the numbers. They're trying to essentially damage the market space as much as they can one last time. Believe it or not, a lot of people believe the numbers that are coming out and going, well, it's the Fed. The Fed is telling us this is the numbers, so this is the numbers, and it should be factual. Incorrect. I've explained this before, regarding matters that have happened previously in the past. For example, the 2008 situation where they said the economy is doing excellent. Essentially Moody's and other rating agencies came out with their reports on how the banking system was doing excellent. The economy is doing excellent. They were coming out with these brilliant numbers and stats and data points. And then we had a massive economic crisis in 2008 because they were hiding numbers, the real numbers, from us. So even when the Fed comes out, don't really take these numbers as genuine, believe it or not, because they do fabricate numbers or stretch some things out more than they should. So this is pretty much the Fed's last hooray at trying to mess with the blockchain space, you could say, in general, because believe it or not, the crypto space is actually a massive space, and it's getting bigger and bigger by the day goes by because Trump is about to come into power, and we know what's about to be happening next. The entire institutional sector of the US is waiting right now on the starting line for Trump to enter his presidency and for them to jump on the bandwagon of blockchain. Okay, so this is pretty much the Fed's one last time of trying to stifle the crypto space. And are we only going to be getting one rate cut throughout the whole of 2025? Because that is now the image the Fed is giving to the people. We went from we're going to have 5 rate cuts this year to 4 rate cuts, now to 1 rate cut is what the image the Fed is giving out. So are we going to essentially have 1 rate cut this year? Hell no. There's no way in hell we're going to be having 1 rate cut this year. To even presume that makes you a moron. And look, the Fed's also going to be put on pressure as well. Donald Trump has said many times he doesn't like the way how Jerome Powell does these things. And even today, he talked about how the Fed is just exaggerating things, hurting the US economy as much as it possibly can. And they need to straighten out. Even Donald Trump today, after the reports came out, said that the Fed is messing with the American people. The Biden administration has left the American people in shock. They've damaged the entire US economy, and the Fed needs to do better. So do I presumably think that the Fed is only going to do 1 rate cut this year? No, because Donald Trump is going to be pressuring the hell out of them to not do only 1 rate cut. I'm expecting minimum 4 rate cuts from the Feds, 4 minimum. But the image the Fed is giving out right now with their new reports coming out is we're only going to do 1 rate cut next year, 0.25%. That's it. They're definitely only not going to be doing 1 rate cut, and especially it's not going to be 0.25%. So on the topic of how long is this crypto space going to be a little bit down? On the topic of how long is this crypto space going to be a little bit down? By tomorrow, the market should pick up. If not tomorrow, if by tomorrow the crypto markets don't do a green indication, the next day after they will. So this downtrend you're seeing won't last more than 1 day or 2 days max. We're going back up again. The reason why we're going to go back up again, look what's happening next. Trump presidency. Gary Gensler losing his job. CFTC chairman today also resigned. Rules and regulations, institutions are waiting on the sidelines to join the crypto space. So this little downtrend we're having right now is going to last about 1 day max or 2 days. That's it. So by tomorrow, we should be in the green or the day after. We're going back up again. So don't worry, this little downtrend we're having isn't going to last too long at all. But this is basically the Fed trying to mess with the people one last time. I mean, Biden's administration of circus freaks are still in charge. Now, before we go through the next news, which is regarding the Czech Republic, which is another country that came forward right now, decided about thinking about starting a Bitcoin reserve. Let's go inside the comment section first before we go through this news. And then we go straight into the Czech Republic news regarding Bitcoin reserves and so on. But as I said previously, this is a live, which means if you do have any questions, put it outside the comment section. We're more than happy to answer any questions you may have. So let's see what's going on inside the comment section, and then we go straight into this. Let's see where we're at. We were at here. Miles, I can't use my X account, so I had to use YouTube. I sent you a direct message. I'll check it out after the live. Scott, I'll check it after the live. Apologies about that if I didn't check it already. What is Chainlink's negative? That it can't do AI. Hi, brother. Camel, good to see you. How you doing? How you been, brother? Hi, Miles, and all in the CMF. Hope everyone is well tonight. Adi, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Fed or liars like Biden? 2008. That's all you need to know, pretty much. Let's go, JB Facts. Hello, Mr. Miles, and all the CMF. Golden Dragon, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Lots of people think they know something, but they are idiots. Facts. I buy XRP this weekend, and today I come too late to buy XRP. Don't worry. You still have time. Just, dollar cost averaging is always the best scenario. Guys, show Miles some support and go to X and comment outside of the live, like the other CMF members. Comments as well and reply to boost the show on X. Facts. Shelly, thank you so much for pointing that out. Thank you so much to everybody that has already liked this live on X and retweeted this live on X and put a comment outside the video on X. Because CMF members, if you're watching this right now, it does help really to boost this family, even make it, essentially make this family much more bigger as well. So if you haven't, go and put a comment on X outside the live in the comment section of this live. If you haven't already, Shelly, thanks so much for pointing that out. Miles, you are out again today. It's about 5 seconds from your speech today. The audio is delayed. I don't know why that keeps on happening, I'll be honest. I paid $2.40 a coin on Saturday and $2.30 coin today. Good. Hi from Malaysia, Shakira. Good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Good evening, Miles and CMF. Free Feather. Good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Canada, EU, and the rest of the world is doing rate cuts, and the Fed is not there. Clearly, want to manipulate the market space. Facts. Absolute facts. The Fed always want to manipulate the market space. All this bearish news will turn bullish, and the minute Trump takes his seat. Yes, facts. Mickey, good to see you. How you doing? Yeah, definitely. The moment Trump takes his seat, or before even Trump takes his seat, a lot of things are going to be happening. But yeah, this whole little downtrend we're having inside the market space right now today isn't going to last until tomorrow. By tomorrow, the day after, the market will be green again because it has no choice. The reason why I'm saying the crypto market has no choice but to be bullish is because Trump, 20th of January, coming into power. Gary Gensler leaving January 20th. CFTC chairman leaving January 20th. FDIC chairman leaving January 20th. The people who are anti-crypto are all leaving January 20th, and pro-crypto America is about to be starting January 20th. So the market has no choice but to be bullish. So this little red that you're seeing, this little bearish movement you're seeing in the market space right now today, based on this data report, is basically the Fed's last chance to stifle the market space. By tomorrow, the day after, the market will turn green. It has no choice but to turn bullish. Now, Czech Republic is what we're going to talk about next, believe it or not. Czech Republic is eyeing Bitcoin as a national asset reserve. Because other countries are right now looking into the idea of creating a Bitcoin reserve because of what Trump has said, the governor of the Czech National Bank today has came out and made a speech. He said, considering including Bitcoin as a part of the bank's strategy to diversify the country's foreign exchange reserves. He said this is an important change in the global finance world as government leaders and central banks look at digital assets to manage their national reserves. Traditionally, foreign exchange reserves usually include assets like gold, foreign currencies, and government bonds. However, Bitcoin, often called digital gold, is increasingly viewed as a store of value. It may provide key advantages such as protecting against inflation and helping with essentially portfolio diversification. Meanwhile, the governor stated that buying Bitcoin is a part of the broader plan to strengthen the Czech Republic's financial system in the future. However, essentially, the proposal still needs approval from the CNB, the Czech Republic National Bank, and seven board members as well. The board members will consider the risk and benefits of adding a highly volatile asset like Bitcoin to their country's reserves. And Janice, an advisor to the board, affirmed that the bank is not planning a Bitcoin investment. However, the bank's governor remains optimistic. Should the bank go ahead, it will be an important step in bringing digital assets into traditional financial systems. Basically, just another country that has been added to the list of a Bitcoin reserve category. I mean, the majority of Latin American countries are right now on the bandwagon of a Bitcoin reserve. Middle Eastern countries are thinking about Bitcoin reserve. Asian countries are thinking about Bitcoin reserve. European countries are thinking about a Bitcoin reserve. All of this is going to be very beneficial for Bitcoin's price point and also very beneficial for the blockchain space in general. Because the more we move towards that kind of sector, the more we can get regulations in place and the more the institutional money can enter the crypto space, not just towards Bitcoin, but in general to every aspect of the crypto space. Now, moving on essentially from Czech Republic thinking about entering the Bitcoin reserve category, we're going to be talking about Bitwise. Now, we went through some speeches that the Bitwise CEO essentially did yesterday, the day before that. But here is his new speech from essentially Bitwise on how they see the markets playing out from 2025 this year until 2029. Bitwise, which manages $5 billion in shares, forecast the end of 2025 and the year of 2029, what's going to be happening inside the market spaces. Bitwise's asset manager has released its January 2025 Bitcoin Macro Investor Report, outlining the current challenges and long-term potential for Bitcoin. While the cryptocurrency market is facing macroeconomic essentially resistance, the report notes that Bitcoin is supported by on-chain data and is well positioned to outperform traditional assets in 2025 and beyond. In December 2024, Bitcoin faced obstacles from profit-taking, declined corporate essential exposure, and tightening financial environments. Depreciation of the US dollar and essentially policy adjustments by the Federal Reserve further weighed in on the market space. The Fed rate cut interest by 25 basis points last month, signaling the future rates could remain higher than previously anticipated, and global liquidity continues to decline, adding additional pressure as Bitcoin's performance lags behind essentially traditional market spaces like the S&P 500. Despite these challenges, Bitcoin's fundamentals remain strong. According to Bitwise's manager, on-chain indicators point to resilience, with increasing ETF activity, institutional treasury holdings, and retail demand creating essentially a supply gap. Fundamental metrics such as declining exchange balances and rising network hash rates further illustrates the market's strength. Long-term factors such as Bitcoin's halving and increasing adoption as a street reserve asset are expected to lead to significant increase in price. Bitwise retweeted its predictions that Bitcoin will reach $200,000 by the end of 2025 and potentially $1 million by 2029. Bitwise sees the current macro-essentially driven sell-offs as a buying opportunity for investors. Any macro-driven sell-offs in the short term could be an attractive opportunity to increase exposure to Bitcoin and other crypto assets, the report said. The report wasn't just genuinely about Bitcoin, although most of it was, but there are essentially other aspects in the report that did state that crypto assets in general are going to be doing exceptionally well this year, continuing all the way to 2029 is what their report is saying, that the crypto market is going to be in a positive momentum from now until 2029, which is basically the longest bull run we're going to be having in history. We're going to talk about that more as we go on tonight's live. Now, before we go through that, let's go inside the comment section. Before we go for the next news, the next news we are going to be talking about is regarding Coinbase versus the SEC. Coinbase today had their recent victory against the SEC. It's not looking good for Gary Gensler, I'll be honest. And there was, to be fairly honest, it was never looking good for Gary Gensler. But let's go to the comment section first before we go for the next news, which is regarding Coinbase and SEC. Let's see where we are at. We were at here. All this, yeah. Okay, we were where we will see $100 XRP because of variable change. I'm really happy with the downtrend. You're not going to get too many of these ones moving forward. Facts. Absolutely, I agree 100% with JP. Hello, Miles. Good to see you, man. Zach, good to see you. How you doing? How you been, brother? Miles, what do you think of Trump saying he will take over Greenland and change the Gulf of Mexico's name to Gulf of America and take back the canal from China? Trump was talking like a bully. Yes, I saw on the news today that Trump has made some announcements. Okay, so the few announcements Trump has made, one is that Canada should be under the US. Now, some people might disagree with the idea that why should Canada be under the US? Well, it actually brings some benefits to the table. One, the US doesn't need to pay Canada anymore, because the US is already defending Canada. They don't need to really buy anything from Canada. So those are valid points Trump made himself as well in the interview, but they're also factual points as well, to be fairly honest. So one, the US doesn't need to pay billions of dollars to Canada for no apparent reason anymore if Canada's under Trump, if Canada's under the US. So it actually makes, economically, it makes a lot of sense for Canada to be under the US, because the Canadians will, save money as a government and as the people, and so would the US. Now, Mexico being a part of essentially the US is an interesting twist, but I can pretty much see why they said at the beginning. So at the beginning, when it was announced that Trump has won the presidency and Trump chose his person in charge as the immigration deportation person, the man that was chosen, I forgot his name, but I can see now why they said they're going to declare the cartels in Mexico as a illicit activity group. I can't say the word on here, and why they want to go after the cartels. I think the reason why they want to get rid of the cartels in Mexico is because now it makes sense. They want to take over Mexico. And the reason why they want to, essentially get Greenland as well is because they don't need to pay them anymore either. Because the US is paying money to defend Canada and to defend Greenland. And they're paying money to Canada for imports, which they don't really need to be doing. Trump actually said himself, he had a conversation with Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau, before he left, he had a conversation with Trump. They had a sit down. And Trump explained to him that, essentially, if we stop paying Canada, if the US stops paying Canada hundreds of billions of dollars a year for their imports of wood, for example, lumber or vehicles or whatever, what will happen to Canada if the US stops paying Canada? Here's essentially perspective. The Prime Minister's perspective of Canada was that Canada would dissolve. If the US stopped spending hundreds of billions of dollars on Canada every year, Canada will come to a halt. So it will make a lot more sense for Canada just to be a part of the US if the only way Canada can survive as an economy is for the US to be giving them hundreds of billions of dollars a year. If that's the only way Canada can survive is when the US gives them hundreds of billions of dollars a year, then what's the point of that? Canada should just become a part of the US. But if Canada can survive without the US paying them hundreds of billions of dollars, if Canada can survive on its two own legs and still be able to do imports to other countries and exports, then sure, Canada could stay a country. But the only way for Canada to survive is by the US giving them hundreds of billions of dollars a year, then that's stupid. Canada should just join the US. It will save the US money, it will save Canada money. So that's the point essentially Trump was trying to make regarding why Canada should just join the US. Because the only way Canada can survive is if we pay Canada. If we stop paying Canada, Canada can't survive. So what's the point of Canada becoming its own country? You might as well just become a state. That's the point he was trying to make, which if you think about it from an economic perspective, it actually makes sense. Because if they can survive on their own two legs, they let them survive. But if the US stops paying them and they can't survive at all, they'll just dissolve. Then just join the US. So honestly, from an economic standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. And this was the response from the Prime Minister of Canada as well, Justin Trudeau, when Trump said, if we stop paying you hundreds of billions of dollars a year, will you survive? And the Prime Minister of essentially Canada said, no. And I think that's one of the reasons also why the Prime Minister of Canada left, because the Prime Minister of Canada knows that at one point, Canada has no choice but to join the US, probably. And he doesn't want to be, the man that probably does it, because he wants that free movement. So do I think Trump is being a bully? No. I think he's making a lot of sense, to be fairly honest. And I'm not saying this because it's Trump and I'm, being biased. If you genuinely look at it from an economic standpoint, if the only way for Canada to survive is if the US pays them $100 billion a year, then they shouldn't, they should just join the US. But regarding the whole Mexican Gulf turning into an American Gulf, that's an interesting play. I don't know about that one. But the Canada one makes a lot of sense, to be fairly honest. And if they get Canada, then most likely they're going to get Greenland. So I wouldn't say he's a bully. I would say he's thinking about it from a business perspective. The only reason Trump was chosen as a president by the people was because of his business mentality. And this is how a businessman thinks. You chose a businessman to become a president of a country. So that's how a businessman thinks. A businessman thinks about how to save money, how to expand. That's what he's doing. He's thinking about how to save money by stop sending hundreds of billions of dollars to Canada, and how to expand by expanding into Canada. You wanted a business president. This is your business president. So listen to him. Monica Long was on Bloomberg today, and she was talking about RLUSD being on Coinbase, and Binance and XRP ETFs are almost imminent. Very bullish news. Facts, funky brother. Absolutely facts. Extremely bullish news, and yes, she was. US and Canada, I'm in. Let's go toast. It all makes sense, but I really can't see that not happening in terms of Canada. I can't see that not happening in terms of Canada. What are the pros and cons of countries having BTC reserve if they do not know who created it? What is the end goal? Great question. Regarding the matters of, what is the pros and cons of a Bitcoin reserve for countries? Some countries, don't really have good a foothold on the economic grounds. Let's just say there's a lot of countries right now that are going very close to economic bubble situations. Every country has an economic bubble crisis right now, and they're pretty much skimming it, just about. They all need liquidity. Bitcoin could provide that scenario to them. So every country right now is not really looking at who created Bitcoin, but more looking at how they can dig their way out of the economic crisis situation they're in. So countries like Czech Republic that came out today, they're thinking about the only thing that Czech Republic that today just came out with, the only thing that they're thinking about is how they're going to dig themselves out of this economic crisis. They couldn't care less who created Bitcoin at this point. They just want to know how they can dig themselves out of this economic crisis. And a lot of countries are thinking the exact same thing. Latin American countries are also thinking to themselves how they can dig themselves out of this economic crisis. And they see Bitcoin as the only potential, and they're not even thinking about who created or who didn't create it. They're all just thinking about how they can get their, essentially, how they can fix their own situations ASAP, essentially. And they're seeing Bitcoin as the ASAP result. Now on the matters of what's the end goal, that's the only thing the only thing I can say on that matter is, we all know that this world is heavily manipulated. The world is a very cruel place. It's always been a cruel place, and it's never going to change. So this whole happy rainbows and sunshines doesn't make that much sense either. So, this whole Bitcoin comes in and saves the day for every country. I'm not trying to spread FUD in any sort of a way. But looking at it from the other perspective, it's not rainbows and sunshines. This world has never been rainbows and sunshines. It's just been a very cruel, manipulated, and greedy world. And it's going to continue being a very manipulated, cruel, and greedy world. Nothing's going to change. It's just going to get worse as we go further along. And this whole rainbows and sunshines of, countries coming in and creating a Bitcoin reserve to fix their economies doesn't add up. So they might pull something down the line on this whole Bitcoin reserve. Time will tell what they're going to be pulling. Is it a massive economic crisis where they pull the plug on something? So we'll see. Time will tell on that matter. So look, Lena, great question. Honestly, what are the pros and cons of countries having a BTC reserve? The pros are they're seeing it as a situation to dig themselves out of. It provides liquidity to their country, and the con is they don't really know who created it, but they're not thinking about that right now. All they're thinking about is liquidity, which is it's going to come and bite them in the ass later on, in my opinion. If Canada joins the US, then how will that affect us with it being a part of our Commonwealth? If Canada joins the US, how will that affect us with it being a part of our Commonwealth? I couldn't presumably tell you. Look, when this whole idea of Canada joins the US actually comes into fruition, then we can get a better perspective of, the T's and dots of what's it going to actually be, like the bullet points on this matter. For the time being, it's just, Trump has suggested it, Canada has thought about it, Justin Trudeau decided to get up and leave. So this is where we're standing at right now on this matter. But the closer we get to actually this happening, is the closer we're going to get a better perspective of the T's and dots of the bullet points on this matter. So I wouldn't be able to tell you that. So we just have to see how close we come to that scenario, and the T's and dots essentially. Hi Miles, Michael, good to see you. So how you doing? Good evening. How you been? Thanks. All I will buy and get 1,000 each coin. Evening, Miles and CMF peeps. Semper, good to see you. So how you doing, Semper? How you been? Hello, Miles and CMF. Carol, good to see you as well. Carol, how you doing? How you been? So, why is there a voice delayed, or is it just me? Yeah, there's a slight voice delay. I think it's the platform that I'm using, Restream. It's having a slight voice delay. I think they're gonna fix it as a bug, and it'll probably be back to normal. Same here. Chill. Yeah, I think it's the platform that I'm using, Restream. It's having some sort of a bug issue. So maybe in a few days we'll be back to normal, or in a few hours, maybe. Now, new developments in Coinbase SEC case has happened. So once again, Gary Gensler's tenure of going after the blockchain space has failed. Gary Gensler is the most incompetent SEC chairman in American history, without a doubt. And this is another reason why he's just so useless. So here it is, new developments in the Coinbase SEC case. Company essentially achieves significant victory. The Coinbase has essentially achieved a significant victory against the SEC. In a significant development for Coinbase, and U.S. District Judge Catherine Foley has granted the company's request for an appeal in its ongoing legal battles with the SEC. The court has also essentially stayed the district court's proceedings, allowing Coinbase to appeal key aspects of the case to Second Circuit's Courts of Appeals. Coinbase's chief legal officer, Paul, shared the news on Twitter, saying, despite the SEC's strong objections, the judge granted our request for a temporary appeal and stayed essentially the case in district court. We appreciate the court's careful considerations, and we are moving forward to the Second Circuit. The appeal, a rare procedural move, allows Coinbase to seek a higher essentially court's review of the SEC's allegations that the company violated federal security laws. The SEC alleges that Coinbase operated as an unregistered exchange and brokerage firm, and also essentially engaged in illegal sales of unregistered securities through its staking program. The crypto journalist Eleanor Tarrant also called the decision a major legal victory for Coinbase, said essentially the judge granted the company a very rare appeal, meaning Coinbase is allowed to appeal the Second Circuit's court challenging the SEC's claims, which basically never happens. In addition to granting the appeal, the judge also stated that the district court's proceedings and meanings the current lower court case will be paused while the Second essentially Circuit considers Coinbase's appeal. Look, in the most basic and simplest way of what really happened between Coinbase and SEC today, and well, essentially something that never happens is a judge giving a favorite situation to the other side. So typically when it's SEC versus anything, it could be SEC versus a bank, SEC versus a institution, SEC versus a blockchain company, the judges will in most cases lean towards the SEC, being in favor of the SEC instead of whoever's versing the SEC. But for a surprising twist of events, a judge, other than the Ripple SEC case, has came forward and essentially, given a victory to Coinbase, because the SEC has been throwing accusations around that Coinbase is selling unregistered securities. They have essentially unregistered securities in their staking programs and so many other aspects. And For the longest time, this same judge wasn't given any sort of green lights to Coinbase in any sort of a way, but it was mostly a little bit in favor of the SEC until now. The judge completely did a 360 and said, well, Coinbase can now, essentially appeal any part of the acquisitions, essentially the SEC has said. For example, the SEC said Coinbase is selling unregistered securities. Coinbase is going to appeal this now. The SEC said Coinbase is selling unregistered securities through their staking programs. Essentially, Coinbase is going to appeal this now. So the judge has given this permission to Coinbase to be able to pretty much appeal parts of this case now, which rarely happens, never happens when it's SEC versus anybody, to be fairly honest. And could we say this happened because we're going to a Trump presidency? We're moving towards pro-crypto and moving away from anti-crypto? Is this why the judge had a second opinion all of a sudden? Because this is the same judge that was pretty much slightly in favor of the SEC throughout this whole case. And all of a sudden now they're in favor of Coinbase. Is it because we're about to get a pro-president, a pro-crypto president, that this judge has decided to be a bit more friendly towards blockchain? Time will tell, but for the time being, this is a win for Coinbase and a win for blockchain as well, to be fairly honest, where judges are giving victories to blockchain companies rather than the SEC. Now, moving away essentially from Coinbase and SEC's announcements today to China and the US. So we all know Trump's going to come into power, which is great. A Trump presidency is incredible, amazing. And the US versus China situation could be something that could possibly happen. Not a war. China and US will never go into war. Physical war. They might go into economic war, but never physical war. But here's the issue. If the US starts doing trade wars with China and China starts doing trade wars with the US, who will outlast who? And will this have any benefits or negatives on the crypto market space? So here it is. Will the US and China trade war benefit crypto? Donald Trump's aggressive trade policies towards China could provide a significant boost to crypto, according essentially to market analysts. With plans for higher tariffs on imports from China and increasing economic pressures on the world's second largest economy, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are set to benefit from this. The Chinese yuan has been under significant pressure, falling to a 16-month low earlier this week, with analysts predicting further essentially devaluations in the coming months, creating a perfect storm for Bitcoin's growth. You know what's interesting? Under the Biden administration, for the longest time, the US dollar was slightly slipping downhill, while the Chinese yuan was climbing, essentially. Which now, as we're getting close to the Trump presidency, the dollar is getting stronger, while the Chinese yuan is getting weaker. Coincidence? David Brickell, the head of international distributions at the FRNT Financials, draws parallels with the yuan's devaluation in 2015, for example, when Bitcoin prices tripled in a short period of time. They're basically trying to say the more pressure Donald Trump puts on China in terms of their trade war economic situation, the more pressure that China goes under, the more pressure the yuan, the Chinese yuan, goes under, the better it is for the crypto market space, because people in China or the government in China, even bankers in China, will go towards crypto assets to hedge against inflation scenarios. So the depreciation of the yuan will accelerate capital flight, essentially, out of China. Brickell said Bitcoin will be an obvious target for some of these flows, particularly with capital essentially controls in place, making it difficult to make funds out of China for traditional channels. Other analysts are equally optimistic about Bitcoin's future during Trump presidency, with research firms like Bernstein and Standard Chartered Bank predicting that Bitcoin could reach $200,000 by the end of 2025, while 10x Research predicts the cryptocurrency could rise to $120,000 by January 20th, just before Trump takes his seat. The optimism stems from Trump's campaign promises and key appointments. He made several pro-crypto promises during his campaign and nominated crypto-friendly figures to influential positions, including Paul Atkins as the head of Securities and Exchange Commission and David Sachs as the chief artificial intelligence and crypto officer. And Trump's proposed tariffs compound China's economic woes. including essentially staggering growth and a continuing housing downturn. In September, Beijing essentially announced a $284 billion package, the biggest since the pandemic, to combat these challenges. But efforts to reassure international investors this week have done little to halt the yuan slide, as China's essentially regulators scramble to stabilize the currency, as reported by the Financial Times. So, the situation between the US and China: Trump comes into power, China goes under pressure. Is that good for crypto or bad for crypto? In the short term, it's actually good for crypto. The more pressure China goes under, the more the money is going to be flowing out of China from the traditional assets and into an alternative asset, which used to be gold. But now we also have a different option, which is blockchain. Money is going to be flowing into Bitcoin and other legitimate crypto assets as well alongside Bitcoin. So, China going on to economic pressure is actually pretty much a good thing for anybody inside the crypto space. But they would have told you it's a bad thing on the news. You know, they talk about how Donald Trump is going to come in and put pressure on China and damage the world's economy and so on, is what CNBC will probably tell you, or essentially NBC News or whatever, or The View. Any more on what these news channels will tell you. In reality, it's always a positive for the crypto space, and that's all that pretty much matters. Now, moving on essentially from the perspective on that matter of China's economic war situation with the US to Multicoin. Multicoin Capital eyeing AI agents institutional frenzy in 2025. Now, we all know that, fine. If you don't know, now you're going to know. But what's going to be the number one category this year in terms of the blockchain space is the financial category. So projects like XRP, XLM, XDC, HBAR, and so on will be doing the best on the regulations, as also because regulations bring institutions and banks to the table, because there's no more gray areas which they don't have to operate in to get sued by the CFTC or the SEC, and there's also 2 new chairmen. So on that matter, the number one category this year and moving forward inside the blockchain space is actually the financial space. But other categories are going to benefit as well. For example, the data category is going to benefit. Tokenization is just a subcategory on the financial categories. And AI is also going to benefit as well. AI is a massive field. It's getting bigger day by day. So here is a perspective coming in from another company out of Wall Street, talking about how they see things playing out. Well, out of the US. Multicoin Capital is eyeing AI agents, institutional frenzies in 2025. Multicoin Capital expects 2025 to be the pivotal year for Web3 as artificial intelligence flourishes and tokenization triggers a frenzy of institutionalizations. The venture capital firm, VC firm, report came out today. The report dubbed the title as Frontier Ideas for 2025. And it anticipates the emergence of an AI-run zero-employee company and a dizzying pace of institutional adoption as security tokens finally take off in a meaningful way. Meanwhile, investors will turn to AI agents and alpha hunters to navigate the growth of new tokens and crypto-native financial products, the report said, because the financial category is genuinely the number one category this year and moving forward. Honestly, XRP, XLM, XDC, HBAR is the number one category you're going to have to be in moving forward this year. Analysts expect 2025 to be among crypto's best years ever, propelled by President-elect Donald Trump's victory in the US's November elections and surging essentially institutional inflows into ETFs. With a pro-crypto administration coming into essentially power in the US and the record-setting success of Bitcoin ETFs, we are about to see a 5-year institutional compliance scrambling to catch up and find ways to support crypto as quickly as possible. This company is predicting a 5-year plus, just institutional money flowing into the blockchain space, and 2025 being an exceptional year. These are all the things I've said. In 2024, I said what's going to happen in 2025. In November, US BTC ETFs broke $100 billion in net assets for the first time, according to data from Bloomberg Intelligence. Multicoin expects tokenized private credits and startup equities to flourish early, with public stock tokens taking off later. Meanwhile, virtually every essentially financial institution will race to offer basic financial products around crypto. This VC company is basically saying the moment Trump takes his seat, the moment we get the rules and regulations, Every single institution in America is lining up to provide some sort of basic products, if they can, inside the finance part of crypto, the financial category of crypto. Blockchains ensure that all participants have access to a real-time record of transactions. This level of transparency and security is stark contrast to the peak of sometimes risky centralized databases of traditional finance. In 2025, agentic AI's machines pursuing complex goals autonomously began reshaping the digital economy, building Web3 applications, launching tokens, and interacting with humans essentially autonomously. Now, with the onset of more advanced chains of throughout reasoning models, AI models are getting to a point where they can think, plan, execute, and self-correct along the way, Multicoin said. It is true, AI is also becoming a massive field as well, and it has got to a point where some institutions are actually getting decisions from AI. For example, JP Morgan talked about how they're actually implementing AI and letting AI make its decisions for them. Morgan Stanley talked about the exact same thing, how they've implemented some AI features into their company, getting some perspectives on it. I'm not saying whatever the AI says the company does, but they're actually using AI, the same ChatGPT that you use at home to write yourself some emails or, rephrase your text messages, is the same ChatGPT, for example, JP Morgan is using to, think about major company decisions. So AI is playing a role without a doubt, 100%. And it has got to a stage where AI is actually thinking for itself. This report is not lying from this essentially VC company. Regarding AI has got to a level where it's executing its own plans, self-correcting itself along the way, and so on. And this provides the foundation for AI agents to perform all types of tasks in businesses. And eventually, Multicoin predicts that crypto capital markets will fund ambitious attempts at zero-employee companies. This VC company is also predicting that the more we go into 2025, 2026, 2027, and beyond, the more we're going to be seeing just AI companies in general, as in no more employees, just AI robots, which is something that's already happening now, to be fairly honest. For example, there were people that were protesting as Amazon workers. Amazon workers were protesting and they wanted more wages, which is very understandable. And a lot of people will say, well, Amazon employees already get a lot of money as a wage. They get one of the highest paying wages out there in that category of working as essentially Amazon employee. But obviously the cost of living is very high, so it makes sense why they were protesting. But what does Amazon do instead? Offer those people more money to work for Amazon? No. Amazon instead buys AI robots to compensate for the people that are protesting. So on the topic of, this VC company seeing the world going towards a zero employee type of scenario, yes, definitely. And it's already something that's happening right now. There are a lot of companies that are just buying out AI robots to work for them instead of employees because it's more beneficial for them. Because AI robots don't need sick days off, they don't need vacations, they don't need to go for maternity leaves, they don't need to do anything. They just work 24/7. All you need to do is plug them into charge. That is why they're all using those types of robots. But anyways, on that topic of, this VC company, what they see 2025 happening, all of what they said on their reports is 100% correct. They talked about on their reports of what's going to happen this year on the matters of finance projects in cryptos. Financial projects in crypto assets are going to be flourishing the highest, facts. They talked about how AI is going to play a big role in essentially companies, also facts. They talked about AI is going to replace humans in general, also facts. They talked about how Web3 data and so on is going to play a massive role, also facts. I'll be honest, it was the only report that I've pretty much read from any VC company that was incredibly accurate of how the marketplace is going to be playing out. But now moving away from this VC company to President Trump, the one and only. President Trump slams the Fed over the skyrocketing interest rates because the Fed is genuinely taking the PISS. They definitely are, to be fairly honest. But before we go through that, let's go inside the comment section first. As I said previously, this is a live, which means if you do have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer the questions you may have. So let's see where we are inside the comment section, and then we go straight into the Trump news and the Fed news as well. And I'll tell you how it relates to crypto as well. XRP to the moon very soon. Is that right? Yes, 100%. Let's go, AJ. Hi, Miles and CMF family. I've missed lots of the live streams lately. Ronnie, good to see you as well. How you doing, Ronnie? How you been? Miles, if Miles, if finance is the main focus this bull run, does that mean that XRP, XLM, XDC, and HBOL will react explosive meme coins this bull run with many X's? Yes, those projects will do very well if that's what you're trying to say. Yes. What up, Miles and family? Hope all is well though. Ray, good to see you. How you doing, brother? How you been? Hope everyone is good. Ronnie, let's go. How you doing? Trump, thank God Trump won. Crypto Miles, let's go, Davey. Why the drop today? It's because of some data reports that came out from the Fed. But by tomorrow, the crypto markets will be back to normal. Genuinely. By tomorrow, the crypto markets will be back to normal the day after. This whole dip won't last more than 48 hours because the market has no choice but to be bullish. Genuinely, I mean it in the most possible way. The crypto market has no choice but to be bullish. Imagine that one. The crypto market has no choice but to be bullish. January 20th, not that far away, Trump presidency. January 20th, Gary Gensler resigns. January 20th, CFTC chairman resigns. January 20th, FDIC chairman resigns. January 20th, because of Trump, new SEC chairman, new CFTC chairman, rules and regulations, institutions coming into play because there's no more gray areas. BTC ETFs, or essentially BTC National Reserve, more ETFs, XRP ETFs, Solana ETFs, and so on. The world's markets following America's footsteps. So much things are going to be happening. So many things are going to be happening that are all pro-crypto. So this is why I say the crypto market right now is a little bit red. It has no choice but to turn bullish as quick as possible. The crypto market has no choice but to turn bullish because January 20th, a lot of things are about to be happening, starting January 20th. And they're all amazingly bullish for the crypto space because every step Trump takes adds more money to the blockchain space. Trump coming into power, Gary Gensler leaving, brings money to the table for the crypto space. Trump coming into power January 20th, FDIC chairman leaving, brings money to the crypto space. You know why? The reason why it brings money to the crypto space is because the FDIC chairman was the man that was stifling US banks from working with blockchain companies. Blockchain companies couldn't work with US banks couldn't work with them. So genuinely, this dip that you're seeing inside the market space right now today is the last stifle movement the Fed could do inside the crypto space by stretching out a few numbers. It's the last thing they could do because the crypto market has no choice but to turn bullish by tomorrow or the day after. And again, all this is because of Trump. If we didn't have Trump, for example, if we had Kamala Harris as the president of the United States, it will be a very cold hell. Easiest way I could put it. Be a very cold hell. But thank God, genuinely, thank God Trump won. Now, thank you for letting us all know the market continues after this dip. Thank God Trump won. Honestly, facts. Thank God Trump won. But yeah, that's why the markets dropped today, Ronnie, because the Fed decided to come out with some exaggerated numbers on the data points of employees. I may have missed it, but didn't Ripple sign a deal with the ROC as well? No. Are they? No. Now, President Trump slams the Fed over skyrocketing interest rates. So here it is. Okay, thanks for the positive answer. Good times ahead for all of us, hopefully. Let's go, Ronnie. Trump accused the outgoing Biden administration leaving behind an economic mess. Facts. Biden's administration of circus freaks definitely left the US in a terrible economic situation. 100%. And he pointed out to the persisting inflation and the Fed's aggressive monetary policies as essentially key culprits. We are inheriting a difficult situation, Trump said, and he definitely is, because the way the Biden administration has left the US is basically the US standing on its last leg, is how the Biden administration is handing over the US to essentially to Donald Trump. They're handing over the US to Donald Trump by the US pretty much standing on its last leg for Donald Trump to patch it up and fix it and put it back to normal again. And inflation is still raging, and interest rates are far too high. They're trying to make it even harder for us to fix this. This only intensifies our expectations of a clash with the Fed Chairman Jerome Powell, whose rate policies have pushed borrowing costs to their highest levels in decades. The Federal Reserve raised interest rates to the 20-year high between March 22nd and July 2023, as inflation soared to a peak of 9.1% in June 2022, while the Fed succeeded in bringing inflation down to 2.7% year over year in November 2024. It's still above the central bank's 2% target. At the same time, Americans are essentially grappling with the consequences of these hikes. Mortgage rates have surged past 8%, while the 10-year Treasury yield has surged to 4.7%. This has left many wondering whether the Fed has lost control of its playbook. If I could personally answer this, has the Fed lost control of their playbook? 1 billion% yes. Either, in my opinion, the Fed has lost control of their playbook, in Trump's words, or the Fed is just messing with the entire world. It's like they are all of a sudden against the US or in favor of China. Genuinely, it just seems that way. Like the Fed is against the US in favor of China, because the more the Fed damages the US economy, the more China will become strengthened to take its place. So it almost seems like treason. Historically, interest rates tend to drop during essentially a Fed rate cutting cycle. Yet, since the central bank began cutting its rates in September 2024, long-term rates have moved in the opposite direction, climbing in the unprecedented 110 basis points. Historically, when we have interest rate cuts, markets are supposed to be coming down a little bit later on, but all of a sudden it's going opposite. I wonder why. Analysts are calling this a market rebellion, with investors essentially challenging the Fed's ability to control inflation without triggering a broader economic pain. For borrowers, the situation is bleak. The Treasury auctions this week underscores the appetite for debt. $58 billion 3-year notes went on sale Monday, followed by $39 billion in reopened 10-year notes on Tuesday, the largest since 2007. That's not a good sign. Another $22 billion in 30-year bonds is set to follow. Corporations are also rushing in to secure funding before the market conditions worsen, taking advantage of a narrow credit spreads and high investor demands. Despite these challenges, Trump has since made it clear he isn't planning to fire Jerome Powell, whom described as a political, during his campaign. Jerome Powell's term doesn't end until 2026, and he's publicly said that he won't resign even if Trump asks him. I made a lot of money, so I should have at least a say in the monetary policies Trump believes as an American citizen. While ordinary Americans feel the pinch of the raising rates, members of Congress are cashing in. Stock trading by lawmakers outperformed the S&P 500 in 2024. It is true. Politicians. So while the American people, genuinely, under the Biden administration, while the American people suffered the consequences of high grocery prices, high mortgage prices, high everything prices, while the American people suffered all of these situations, the politicians of America made more money in terms of profits than the S&P 500. Politicians in America outperformed, their portfolios outperformed the S&P 500, while the rest of the American people was suffering with the high prices of gas, electrics, groceries, mortgages, loans. So our regular people were really struggling to survive under Biden's administration. American politicians' portfolios outperformed the S&P 500. How does that one, genuinely, how does that one add up? For context, the S&P 500 rose 25%. Sorry, the S&P 500 rose 24% during the same period. And Democrats gained an average of 31%. Republicans gained a posting average of 26% in gains. S&P 500 rose 24%. Democrats, in terms of profits, 31%. during the same period, leaving the retail investors in the dust. According to JP Morgan's data, the average retail investor saw returns of just 3.7% last year. So if you were a retail person who invested with a small amount of money, because that's all you had left after you paid all your bills off, you made a profit of 3.7%, while the politicians made 37%, and the S&P 500 made 24%. At least 5 members of Congress posted gains exceeding 100%, if you're wondering, with Nancy Pelosi's portfolio surging 71%, thanks to the heavy investments in tech stocks. Meanwhile, hedge funds struggled to keep up, with only 2 major funds of D.A. Shaw's 36% and Bridgewater China 35% outperforming Congress. Democrats in particular have doubled down on tech. Nearly half of their portfolios are concentrated in technology stocks, with financial services trading far behind at 13.4%. Republicans, on the other hand, are more diversified, favoring energy, consumer cycles, and financials alongside tech. But Trump plans to ban Congress from stock trading once and for all the moment he's back in the Oval. Best thing ever. Trump essentially getting rid of politicians being able to buy into the stock market. Best thing possibly ever. Because politicians should be personally nowhere near the stock market in any sort of a way. Because politicians sometimes get insider information. And they might pretend they don't get inside information, but they definitely do. They're politicians. Anybody can become a politician, do essentially what a politician does, which is basically sign paperwork that you get paid off on to do by companies of your donations. So on that topic of should politicians be anywhere near the stock market? No, they should be far off. Economists are now warning of the stagflation, where high inflation combines with sluggish growth. As market dynamics change, gold prices are up 29% since March, while the US dollar index, DXY, has climbed to its highest levels since 2022. These two types rarely rise together, but the unusual pairings means that the markets are essentially bracing for the return of inflation. This move in long-term rates can't be ignored. Trump said markets essentially are fighting the Fed at historic pace, and inflation is being priced in. The situation is early essentially of the dot-com bubble scenario, with the rates movements defying historical trends. Analysts are calling this an unprecedented Fed versus market scenario, a showdown with the stakes higher than ever. Borrowers are flooding into debt markets to lock in their funds before conditions worsen, and Europe's bond market has already set records. While Wall Street is eyeing in a potential $200 billion January issuance, which would be the largest in history, pension funds and insurers flush with cash are eager to secure high yields despite rising risk. This demand has driven corporate bonds essentially spreads to 30-year lows, creating a rare window of opportunity for issuers. Meanwhile, the Fed's Federal Market Open Committee is set to meet again at the end of the month. Just as Trump takes office, all eyes are on Jerome Powell and his team as they tell us everything they want us to believe about the U.S. economy. Everything they want us to believe about the U.S. economy, because the Fed is definitely playing around with the numbers. 100% the Fed is playing around with the numbers. So yeah, there it is. Regarding the matters of how things played out during the Biden administration for the retail section, and how things played out for the politicians. While the politicians were making money hand over fist, the retail section could barely afford groceries, for example, and how the politicians in general were outperforming the S&P 500, which it shows you the level of manipulation in the world of politics in the most simplest way. But yeah, wow, honestly. Now, before we talk about the next news on tonight's live, which is regarding the CFTC, Rostam Benham, essentially, the chairman of the CFTC, Rostam Benham, has also decided to resign. So not only is Gary Gensler resigning essentially January 20th as the SEC chairman, but the chairman of the CFTC was also resigning January 20th, Rostam Benham. But before we talk about that, let's go inside the comment section first. As I said previously, this is a live, which means if you do have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. More than happy to answer the questions you may have. So let's see what's going on inside the comment section, and we go straight into the next news, which is Ruslan Benham, CFTC chairman. Okay, thanks for the positive. No problem. The deep state is real, and they are not happy right now. Yep, facts. Absolutely. Let's go, Ray. It would be great if all the politicians that become super wealthy during their service be investigated. Yes, facts. Politicians should definitely be investigated. The same way the retail section gets investigated for skipping on a little bit of tax money, politicians should be investigated for the amount of money they're making, and when they're especially outperforming the S&P 500. Genuinely. Mad cause poor. Wow. So you're saying I'm poor, first of all, and then you're saying I'm mad because I am poor. Wow. So from that major statement that I read out, how politicians are bending over the retail section, you caught on to the idea that I'm angry because I'm poor. First of all, I'm not poor. Even if I was, I couldn't care less. Second of all, when someone reads you a statement telling you how you're being bent over by the people that are supposed to protect you and serve you and look after you, but instead they're stealing money from you, maybe you should grow some brain cells and understand things better. Just a perspective on that matter. When someone reads you out a statement like that, telling you how the world is operating, and the first thing that comes to your head is that, it shows the level of IQ you have and the level of IQ somebody else has when they essentially hear the exact same thing that I'm reading out. Miles, I know your hands are full, but if you have time in the future, I sent you a DM. Thanks. Sempro, no problem. I'll definitely, after this live, I'll read into your the direct message you sent me, no problem. Miles, would you mind explaining why market cap doesn't affect XRP? Would I mind explaining why market cap doesn't affect XRP? Look, it's not just XRP, and I've explained this as well before in the past. So the whole topic of market cap doesn't affect XRP. It's not just that market cap doesn't affect XRP. Market cap in general wouldn't affect any project that has a utility purpose. So market cap wouldn't matter on the basis of XRP. It wouldn't matter on XLM. It wouldn't matter on XDC. Market cap is not a good metric unit because crypto assets have utility. So it's difficult for market cap to be able to essentially show their utility purposes in terms of the value coming in. So it's not just XRP, and I've made this very clear before in the past as well. But when it comes to market cap in general, any crypto asset that has a utility purpose, it's difficult for it to be captured in the market cap when the utility kicks in. So keep that in mind from now on. It's not just XRP, but market cap in general is a terrible, and I mean terrible, metric unit for coming to a price point of what a crypto asset should be, because crypto assets aren't stocks. Market cap makes sense as a metric unit for stocks because stocks is buy, sell, buy, sell. So therefore, as a metric unit, market cap makes sense because it's buy, sell, buy, sell. Stocks don't have utility purposes. So I don't know why, for the longest time, we've been treating crypto assets as if they're stocks, which is just buy, sell, because they're not just stocks. They have something extra, which is a utility, a purpose. Stocks don't really have a purpose other than to represent a company's shares. Well, as crypto assets, it's a utility. It's a utility token, not a stock. So therefore, market cap doesn't make sense as a metric unit for essentially crypto assets because it's a terrible metric unit. So it's not just XRP that market cap doesn't matter to. In general, any crypto asset that has a utility purpose, market cap doesn't matter. Any crypto asset that has a utility purpose, market cap doesn't matter because it's a terrible metric unit that doesn't include its utility, which is the main purpose of a crypto asset. The main purpose of why crypto exists in the first place is utility. The reason why blockchain exists, excluding the funny meme tokens, and considering the fact of XRP, XLM, XDC, HBAR, AVAX, TON, Chainlink, Ethereum, and the list just goes on. The reason why these crypto assets exist is utility. And the one thing utility can't essentially be really factored into market cap once it actually is adapted. So as a metric unit, market cap is terrible. Now, The salary of US presidents is around 500,000 a year, but at the end they leave with 100 million. How is that possible? Facts. That's also facts as well. Honestly, absolute facts. But it's not just US presidents, it's presidents in general and prime ministers in general. Prime ministers in the UK get about roughly 125,000 or 130,000 a year. But when they leave office, they have 5 houses and a villa in the south of France. I don't know how that one works out. It's the same thing in the UK. We get a prime minister that has 130,000 salary, 130,000. He enters as a prime minister, or she enters as a prime minister with $130,000, with 130,000 pounds, and they leave with 6 properties and a villa in the south of France. Doesn't add up. Now, but I agree with you 100%. Regarding the 500,000 a year, and the US presidents leave somehow with $100 million. It goes for every country, chosen. Absolute facts. They get paid. Good morning, Miles of CMF. Go Spooner, good to see you. How you doing? They get paid loads to do speeches. Facts, absolute facts. Which is just them getting paid by their backers. Also facts. Now, CFTC. CFTC chairman Rostam Benham says he's resigning on January 20th. Not just Gary Gensler, but him also. Now, to be fair to Rostam Benham, he was actually pro-crypto. He tried his best, genuinely his best, to bring crypto regulations in, to get the power from the SEC so, he can have the voice for the crypto space. But Congress never gave it to him. The reason why Congress never gave the power to the CFTC to be able to vote on matters and have that loud voice is because the Biden administration said we'll veto it. So Rostam Benham actually tried to be pro-crypto, but they never let him be pro-crypto. And he just decided all of a sudden that, he's probably giving up and he's going to resign essentially January 20th. Same time as the SEC chairman, Gary Gensler. So Rostam Benham, chairman of the U.S. Commodities Futures Trading Commission, CFTC, announced that he's stepping down from his position on January 20th this year. Rostam Benham has stressed the importance of disciplined digital asset regulations and a renowned focus on closing the regulatory gap in crypto markets. In his statements, Rostam Benham reflected on his time in the office, saying, "It has been an honor and a privilege to serve the American public and the CFTC. We work to address regulatory gaps and uncertainties. Under Rostam Benham's guidance, the CFTC took important actions like negotiating a $2.7 billion settlement with Binance Exchange for operating as an unregistered derivatives platform in the US. This settlement was one of the most significant enforcement actions against a crypto exchange. Rostam Benham has long argued that many digital tokens should be classified as commodities and fall under the CFTC's jurisdiction. He maintained his position that the agency should be at the forefront of regulating the rapidly growing cryptocurrency market space, which is ironic that Rostam Benham wanted the crypto markets to be regulated by the CFTC because Trump has mentioned that he's actually going to give more power to the CFTC than he is to the SEC for regulating the crypto asset space. He also described the current regulatory environment as insufficient, arguing that urging lawmakers to pass new legislations to position the CFTC as the primary regulator for essentially Bitcoin and digital currencies. During his tenure, Rostam Benham helped finalize federal rules for carbon offset trading, which is the new markets that the CFTC is attempting to regulate. Attention to the risk management in old and new markets has been a significant part of his job as a chairman. When Rostam Benham preparing to step down, eyes are on who will replace him. Brian Quince, the former CFTC commissioner, has emerged as a leading candidate. Brian Quince, who currently heads the policy division at Anderson Howard's, a crypto branch. A16Z is known for his support of financial innovation and could continue Rostam Benham's efforts in crypto regulations. Rostam Benham's resignation leaves the CFTC facing ongoing challenges in regulating essentially digital assets and offshore betting platforms, with the future of the US crypto regulations remaining uncertain. So, Rostam Benham leaving, CFTC chairman leaving, resigning exact same time as essentially Gary Gensler, January 20th. Although Rostam Benham was pro-crypto, he never really understood crypto. So it makes sense for him to step down. But the person that's going to most likely replace him is going to be pro-crypto. So we're going to have a pro-crypto person as the CFTC, as the SEC chairman, and a pro-crypto person as the CFTC chairman who understands what crypto is. Rostam Benham never really understood what blockchain is, but at least he was pro for the time being. But he's out the picture as well. He's resigning essentially January 20th as well. But he's still in favor of crypto. In his last speech, he said that he wants to see crypto flourish. In his words, he wants to see crypto flourish, and that he still sees a massive future for crypto no matter what. But he's still resigning January 20th. Now, what we're going to be talking about next is a perspective coming in from a CEO of a company, Crypto Quants company, CEO has came out that this is going to be, starting this year, the biggest bull cycle and the longest bull cycle we are ever going to be experiencing inside the crypto space. Now, the reason why he said it's going to be the longest crypto cycle is because it's very simple. He sees it as Trump is going to be coming in, bringing in the regulations, new CFTC and SEC chairman, rules and regulations, institutions, banks, ETFs, reserves, the world following his footsteps. And that is why this CEO of this company has came forward and said, we think starting this year and continuing throughout the years, it's just going to be one hell of a bullish ride for legitimate assets. Does that sound familiar for CMF members or anybody that's been watching me in the past few days? Or in 2024, if you've been watching me as well. Because what I've said for the longest time, when other people inside the crypto space were saying, essentially, I've always went the opposite against the norm. And I was always right. But I've always went opposite against the norm. When people said Bitcoin is going to go to $20,000, I said, no, it isn't. And guess who was right? Me. Why I said no, it isn't? Because institutions buy assets and hold them for 5-year minimum projections. So if you have institutions like BlackRock and everybody else holding crypto assets as a 5-year projection minimum, you're never going to see Bitcoin at $20,000. It's just common sense. If you understand how the corporate sector works, it's just common sense. So people, crypto influencers who predicted Bitcoin at $20,000, and they were wrong, and I was right. And then moving a little bit forward, every other thing that I've said pretty much on the dot. And this one too. In 2024, I said this repeatedly. I said going into 2025, it's just going to be bullish throughout the whole year because being on the Trump presidency. Now, we're all going to be having ups and downs and turbulence. That's a given. No market space will just continue going. We'll be going like this, but we'll be going higher like this, essentially. But I said we're going to have the longest, essentially, because even though a lot of influencers have been said that, you know, the market, the crypto market is going to top out in January, and that's pretty much it. We're going to go downhill from January. And I said, no, we're not. Because how can we go downhill from January if we're just getting started and warmed up in January with Trump's administration, with a new SEC chairman, with a new CFTC chairman, with more ETFs, with more institutions, more banks, no more stifling. The world following America's footsteps. Every institution, every bank, every government is following Donald Trump's footsteps into a pro-crypto scenario, which means every country is going to be bringing money to the table for legitimate crypto assets. So how can we top out in January? We're getting warmed up in January for what's about to be coming inside the crypto space. Is basically what I said. And as always, whatever I say, about a few months later, you'll hear it, the exact same words from a CEO of a random company or CEO of a Wall Street company. And I'm not saying any of these CEOs essentially know who the hell I am. None of these CEOs know who I am. None of these CEOs watch this live in any sort of a way. And I'm definitely 100% sure of that. But what I'm trying to say is I guess their movements before they pull their movements. So here it is. And this isn't the only CEO, but this is one of them. CryptoCon CEO predicts the longest bull market cycle in history. As in, we're not going to be repeating the same cycle because we've never experienced all of these things. Also what I said. The current bull market cycle might be unlike any other cryptocurrency in history, according to the CryptoQuant CEO, Ki-Young Ju. Now, we've talked about Ki-Young Ju before, the CEO of this company. On a post today, Ki Jong-un essentially suggested that a steady inflows of new liquidities are fueling Bitcoin and crypto market space momentum upwards, with untapped market potential poised to extend the cycle even further. Facts. If accurate, this projection could solidify Bitcoin's position and crypto assets as a long-term asset class, ushering a new era of sustained growth and adoption. Zhu emphasized the current market in seeing steady and sustainable liquidity, contrasting with previous cycles that often relied on speculative bubbles. This time, there's no speculative bubble. It's more structured. It's regulations, it's institutional money, banks' money, world's money, because everybody's going to follow America's footsteps. No more speculative bubble market cycles inside the crypto space. No. We're going into adoption. We're going into utility. We're going into regulations now. Institutional investment, for example, increased participation from traditional finance players, including Bitcoin ETFs, has brought more stability inside the market space so far. Retail participation. Retail investors are also contributing to liquidity driven by greater awareness and access to crypto markets. Emerging markets, countries like India, Brazil, and Turkey are witnessing a surge in crypto adoption, adding new layers of demand. New financial products, innovations like Bitcoin-backed loans and decentralized financials and products are expanding Bitcoin's use cases and crypto assets use cases. The current cycle is categorized by a slower but steadier growth, with Zhu suggesting that it could extend its duration beyond previous peaks, that this is going to be the longest bullish trend we're ever going to be seeing in essentially in crypto's history. We're playing by different rules. This is a different ball game. I've said this before as well. Factors extending the bull cycle. So these are the factors that are essentially, from the CEO's perspective, that's extending this whole bull cycle out of the norm. Institutional momentum. ETFs, products like BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF, are attracting significant capital. And corporate treasury investment companies like MicroStrategy and Tesla continue to hold Bitcoin and signal a long-term confidence, or any other institutions going inside the ETF space, or any other institution applying for ETFs. We have XRP ETFs on the line, Solana ETFs on the line, Chainlink's ETFs on the line, HBAR's ETFs on the line. All these are filings. Solana's ETFs. Evolving global macro trends. Inflation hedge. Bitcoin's role as a hedge against inflation is gaining recognition, aimed global economic uncertainties. Geopolitical instability. Countries are facing economic instability, are turning to Bitcoin as an alternative to fiat currencies. Number 3, technological advancements. Layer 2 scaling solutions, the Lightning Network, and similar innovations are improving Bitcoin's usability for everyday transactions. Cross-chain interoperability, enhanced connectivity between Bitcoin and other blockchain ecosystems is increasing its utility. Why does Ki-Young Ju believe this will be the longest bull cycle in crypto's history? Why will this be essentially be the longest history? Ju cites steady liquidity inflows and untapped markets as key factors driving sustained growth. Unlike previous cycles that were often fueled by speculative mania, what could extend essentially Bitcoin's bull cycle even further? New financial products, increased institutional participation, and adoption. Emerging markets could continue to fuel this cycle. Facts. We're getting so much institutions coming on the sidelines right now, waiting for regulations. The amount of institutions and CEOs and board members and executives that came out right now and said they're just waiting for Trump to take his seat. They're just waiting for Trump to bring out the regulations. What risk could essentially cut this bull cycle short? Regulatory changes and market overheating and overseen events like major hacks or geopolitical essentially crisis could pose a significant risk. Those are factors that we have to always weigh in. If a geopolitical situation happens, then the markets will be obviously impacted in a negative way. That's essentially things that we always have to factor in. Or a hack, if a major hack or a compromise happens inside the crypto space, even though we might be going through this, incredible crypto journey this year, moving forward, just this bullish momentum, we still have to consider the fact of ups and downs in terms of a compromise that happens, a hack that happens, a geopolitical tension that happens. Those factors will always be weighed in. However, we're still going towards this monumental upward trend. How does this cycle compare to 2017's bull run? Unlike 2017, which was largely driven by retail speculation, the current cycle we are in is supported by institutional adoption and sustainable liquidity inflows. When might the current cycle peak? This current cycle, this current bull market we're still in, which has pretty much been the longest bull cycle, and is going to continue being the longest bull cycle we are going to be in. So what's the timeline on this? The perspective from this CEO, potentially, while no timeline is guaranteed, analysts suggest the current cycle could extend well into and beyond 2025. Depending on market conditions, the current bull cycle we are in has the potential to become the longest and most significant in history. With institutional backing, growing adoption, and steady liquidity, Bitcoin and other crypto assets is moving forward towards a greater mainstream acceptance. Investors must remain vigilant about potential risk, as prolonged cycles often come with challenges. As the crypto markets evolves, Bitcoin continues to prove itself, and crypto assets continue to prove itself as well as a resilient and transformative asset in the global financial landscape. So, as I've said previously, in 2024, going into 2025, I said that this market is going to continue going upwards. Regarding the matters of, I said the market is going to continue going up, 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 basically, I said. With the turbulence in between, it's going to be happening no matter what. We'll just be going up like this. But it's nice to be repeated by another CEO of a company, as always. Now, this is definitely going to go down the history books. This is why I said, if you haven't, experienced a bull cycle before, what you're about to experience for the first time, if this is your first bull run, what you're about to be experiencing, continued bull run, is the biggest bull run in crypto history you're about to be experiencing. All previous bull runs we've experienced inside the crypto space are nothing compared to what we're about to be experiencing very soon. Now, moving on, essentially from the perspective from this CEO that came out today, to Canada's Prime Minister. Now, we talked about Canada's Prime Minister yesterday, deciding to get up and leave. And he was a very useless Prime Minister, to be fairly honest. Now, we talked about who could possibly replace him. But now, today, we have some updates on how pro-crypto this man really is and how much he can bring to the table for the Canadian market space, pretty much, and for the world market space in terms of crypto. So here it is. Canada's Conservative Party leader, Pierrot, has a 85% chance of becoming the country's next prime minister, according to Polymarket. Now, Polymarket is obviously a betting website for the crypto space, and they bet on everything. Who's the next president of this country or that country, prime minister of this country or that country, and so on. And Polymarket is more accurate than the polls were, because Polymarket did say Donald Trump will win the US elections, while CNBC was telling people it was Kamala Harris. But yeah, Polymarket is very accurate because it shows what the people want, not what the news is telling you. So his increasing popularity shows the wide acceptance of his support for Bitcoin and other digital currencies. Changes to Canada's cryptocurrency laws and policies may occur if he's elected prime minister. According to Polymarket, 85% chance he's the next president, he's the next prime minister of Canada. Canada had a restrictive stance on cryptocurrencies essentially under Justin Trudeau. For example, 34 cryptocurrency wallets connected to the Freedom Convoy of 2022 demonstrates were outlawed essentially by his government. were outlawed by his government. Voters' dissatisfaction was heightened by criticism this move received from cryptocurrency supporters. Piero, on the other hand, promises a stark departure from such policies. He supports Canadians' rights to use decentralized assets like Bitcoin, for example, or moreover, he opposes central bank digital currency, CBDCs, which he can't really stop, advocating financial freedom instead. His backing of the Bill C-400 further demonstrates his commitments. And Piero emphasizes economic independence through cryptocurrencies, viewed them as a safeguard against inflation. He has even invested into the purpose of Bitcoin ETFs, underscoring his faith in digital assets. Furthermore, his platform foresees implementing a blockchain-friendly regulation and treating crypto assets as commodities for tax purposes. Unlike Justin Trudeau, who cautions policies, and Piero envisions a Canada where blockchain innovation thrives under. His views aligns with many Canadians who seek alternatives to traditional banking systems. Additionally, he asserts that cryptocurrencies offer citizens greater control over their finances without government interference. Polymarket projects an 89% probability and Piero's victory, although essentially other platforms like Kautsky predict that slightly lower odds. His rising approval shows the public's interest in crypto-friendly policies. His potential leadership could attract blockchain companies, and Piero's pro-essentially stance resonates with voters seeking economic freedom and blockchain innovation. If elected, his policies could mark a transformative era for Canada's cryptocurrency landscape, and contrasting Trudeau's restrictive approach. So Canada's next prime minister is pretty much pro-crypto. The man not only is pro-crypto, but he has purchased Bitcoin ETFs. He's been a part of some crypto bills in Canada. And, if he's chosen as pretty much the next Prime Minister of Canada, is good to go. Genuinely good to go. Which means Canada is also going to be joining the rest of the world and becoming some sort of a crypto hub, which is incredible to see. Now, on the topic of essentially the markets moving to a much more positive momentum this year, and how everything is getting ready for a very bullish market space. Institutions, banks, regulations, Trump, everything and everyone is just standing on the start line, waiting for Trump to take his seat, for everything to kickstart inside the blockchain space. Here it is. Nasdaq, for example. Today, this is what they said. The Nasdaq has came out and it's seeking the SEC approval to raise the IBIT position limit to 250,000 contracts. Now, to put in perspective, the IBIT, BlackRock's essentially IBIT, Bitcoin ETF, is under 25,000 contracts only. But the Nasdaq wants to increase BlackRock's IBIT Bitcoin ETF from 25,000 contracts to 250,000 contracts, because they are predicting something major is going to be happening in the following weeks or days. Nasdaq has officially filed with the US Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, to increase the position limit for the iShares Bitcoin Trust ETF, IBIT, from 25,000 contracts to 250,000 contracts. And according to Jeff Park, the head of Alpha Strategies at Bitwise Asset Manager, managed by BlackRock's IBIT is one of the leading spot Bitcoin ETFs. The proposed increase reflects the surging trading volume and rising institutional demand for Bitcoin-related financial products. Park further noted that a minimum limit of 400,000 contracts might be required in the near future to accommodate market growth. Nasdaq's filings to increase IBIT's position to limit to 250,000 contracts signals confidence in the expanding role of Bitcoin ETFs in the financial market space. This move reflects the growing institutional interest and underscores Bitcoin's transition into a mainstream investment asset. While the SEC's approval essentially is pending, the proposed change could set essentially a precedent for the future developments in the crypto ETF space, driving broader adoption and market growth. Nasdaq is getting ready for a burst to be happening inside the market space, where they're limiting the limit that was already set on essentially BlackRock's IBIT Bitcoin ETF, 25,000 contracts, to be increased to 250,000 contracts, because they're saying there's a massive interest coming in from institutions right now, which are all lining up for something. and therefore they want to increase their limits. That's a big jump, 25,000 contracts to 250,000 contracts in terms of limit orders. Now, what's incoming SEC Chairman Paul Atkins doing on the Hill today? So, as you all know, the next SEC Chairman obviously is going to be Paul Atkins. Now, we've talked about how Paul Atkins, what he can bring to the table and so on. But what we're going to talk about next is what Paul Atkins did today, which is have a sit down with many people who are pro-blockchain or pro-crypto to hear their side of the story. Well, before I go through that news, let's go start a comment section first. As I said previously, this is a live, which means if you do have any questions, put it down in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer the questions you may have. So let's see where we were at. We were at here, which is just them getting paid by their bankers. Facts. Hi, Miles and CMF. Sorry I'm late. Peg, good to see you. How you doing, Peg? How you been? Believe Trump said he's donating his paycheck, meaning he's not in it for the money like the rest. Facts. Dark money pays those politicians and presidents too. Also facts. It's people like Zelensky who siphon the money for their politicians. Also facts. Definitely not like all presidents, Republicans or Democrats. Trump is clearly different though. Facts. No U.S. president has donated their money to U.S. or other organizations. Incorrect. Scott, Trump's businesses are also based in the U.S. as well. Trump makes a lot of money for the U.S., to be fairly honest. He hires a lot of Trump hires a lot of U.S. employees. He has U.S. businesses. So he's pretty much the only president that has or adds any sort of value to the U.S., to be fairly honest, regarding that. So, Scott, Trump is... I agree with your statement, Scott. I agree with your statement. No U.S. president has donated their money to the U.S. or other organizations. Yes, I agree with that 100% facts. But, however, Trump is the only U.S. president that pretty much has been employing U.S. employees for the longest time, has U.S. businesses going, and didn't take a wage either. So he goes against the grain, to be fairly honest. Your statement makes 100% sense to the 99.9% of politicians. He's the only exception. Trump is so rich already that he can't buy him because he doesn't need any more money. Also facts. Or Ronnie has said, if these presidents or politicians show their tax returns, then much of those theoretics sport online and by influencers could be proved correct or incorrect. Also true, even though Trump hires a lot of U.S. employees and so on, obviously he pays a little bit of tax, but anyone would, to be fairly honest. Anyone would. When Trump comes on the news and says, yeah, I pay a little bit of tax, and people get angry, not saying you do, but in general, if anybody gets angry at Trump for paying a little bit of tax, anyone would. Honestly. If you were a millionaire, you don't want to be paying tax. If you're a billionaire, you don't want to pay tax. If you have no money, you don't want to pay tax. Honestly, if you're lower class, middle class, or upper class, whatever class you're stated in, you never want to pay tax. So nobody should get mad at somebody else not paying tax either. But yeah, I agree with your statements. Scott, yep, I agree. Hello, Sir Miles. How you doing? Crypto Cowboy, how you doing? My brother Miles, what's up? Christopher, good to see you. How you doing? How you been, brother? Miles, is 500,000 tokens in 3x's and HBAR and ACH enough, or shall I sell ETH and others tokens to buy more X's? Miles, is 500,000 tokens and 3x's enough? That's more than enough. And HBAR and ACH enough? Yeah. And 3x's, you're pretty much good to go. There is power when people are truthful and not leaning on one way on information. I agree 100% what essentially Scott said. I agree. I have been dollar cost averaging all week and weekend on XRP, XLM, XDC, H1, ACH. Let's go, Scott. Share the live. Let's go, Scott. Speak American. First of all, there's no such thing as American. Just for your information. There's no such thing. The language Americans speak is English, first of all. So next time you're trying to criticize someone, maybe understand what a language is before you try to correct somebody else's language. So the next time, there's no such thing as speak American. It's speak English, not American. That's not really a language. English is the language. And second of all, I'm from the UK. I'm British. Brad just posted a pic on X. He's just had dinner with Trump. Let's go, Daddy. Outstanding. Let's go, Ray. What did Israel do in 1967? What they did is none of my business. Democrats, Miles, you say that all the time. Nothing is different for presidents. No one wants to pay taxes, including me. Facts. I agree 100%. I'm counting the days to January 20th. Facts. Me too. Most people do not realize they pay for tax servers and not tax advice. Also facts. Tell it, Miles. Let's go, Christopher. I'm sure you could do an American accent, lol. Miles. Let's go, Stormy. Let's go, Shelly as well. That late Jimmy Carter, RIP, donated a lot of money to disease around the world. Yes, Miles, please explain that American is not a language. Facts, absolutely. Now, what's incoming SEC Paul Atkins going to be bringing to the table? Paul Atkins, President Donald Trump's pick for the next SEC chairman, has hit Capitol Hill, making the rounds and stopping at key offices to draw up support for his confirmation. So Paul Atkins, new SEC chairman, coming into power as the current SEC chairman leaves January 20th. Paul Atkins has decided to go around and have a sit down with any pro-crypto politician, see what their essentially opinions are on the matter. And that's what he did essentially today. So here it is. Paul Atkins is no stranger to the SEC or the financial regulation. He's meeting with some of the biggest names in Congress, starting with Senator Tim Scott, the chair of the Senate Banking Committee. This is the first major move in what's expected to be a complete makeover of the SEC's approach to digital assets and financial markets. Scott released a statement praising Atkins' long career in financial regulation and his commitment to policies that promote capital formation and job creation. He also called out the damage caused by former SEC chairman Gary Gensler, saying essentially Atkins saying that leadership is exactly what the SEC needs to turn things around. He said, "I look forward to working with my colleagues to quickly consider his nomination," said Scott. Paul Atkins also sat down with Senator Cynthia Lummis, the loudest crypto supporter in Congress. Senator Cynthia Lummis tweeted out about the meeting, saying that they talked about the SEC's rulemaking process and passing meaningful digital asset legislations. In a nod to Paul Atkins' name, she joked about putting the SEC on a Atkins diet. So the next plan essentially is for the SEC to have less hands on crypto assets. So you know how throughout these years, the SEC has been stifling crypto as much as it possibly can and not letting crypto assets breathe, for example. Well, the plan going forward is for the SEC to move a little bit more loose against crypto assets, to let them, do what they want, to grow. So that's why they're calling it the Atkins diet, is what the plan is for the SEC, because Paul Atkins is the SEC chairman, and they're saying this is the Atkins diet, where they're not going to be stifling crypto as much, but letting it flourish instead. A clear shot at the agency's heavy-handed regulation that's going on under Gary Gensler. So the opposite is going to be Paul Atkins, a bit more loose. Paul Atkins has built a reputation as somehow who understands crypto. He first invested in Bitcoin in 2013. His nomination is being hailed by everyone in the industry. Paul Atkins has a history with the SEC that goes back decades. He first joined as a staff member under former chair Richard Burden and Arthur Levitt, where he essentially worked on corporate governance reforms. Later, he served as a SEC commissioner from 2002 to 2008 during George W. Bush presidency. His tenure was filled with efforts to balance regulatory oversight with the market innovation, a philosophy he's carried out into the post-SEC career. After leaving the agency, Paul Atkins founded Patmos Global Partners, a consulting firm focused on financials and crypto markets. He's been an outspoken advocate for blockchain technology, reportedly calling for global regulatory frameworks. It's no surprise then that Trump essentially nominated him on December 4th as a part of his push to make the US a leader in crypto innovation. The market responded immediately with him essentially coming into power, but while he has a strong allies and Scott and Luminous, there are still questions about his leadership and how he will address the ongoing issues inside the crypto space, including fraud, market volatility, and high-profile collapses like FTX. The SEC itself is a divided institution, with some pushing for stricter oversight and others advocating for a lighter touch. Paul Atkins will need to find a way to bring clarity to the agency approach without alienating each side, or either side in this case. Yeah, facts. Look, what Paul Atkins so far has done is have a sit-down with Senator Cynthia Luminous, who is extremely pro-crypto, 100%. Two, Paul Atkins is going to be apparently introducing the Atkins diet, a perspective coming in from Cynthia Luminous, because what we are experiencing right now under the SEC and Gary Gensler is a heavy-handed SEC. Under Paul Atkins, we're going to be experiencing a very light touch SEC when it comes to crypto assets. So let crypto breathe so crypto can grow and bring in innovation, in the most simplest way to put it, is what the plan is now, which is great, absolutely amazing. Now, what we're going to talk about next, moving on essentially from the SEC and Paul Atkins having a sit down with pro-Congress members and pro-crypto members and so on, which is great to see him doing these things before he takes his seat January 20th or a few days after January 20th. What we're going to talk about next is essentially Ripple and Chainlink, and a perspective from a very long-term analyst inside the market space of what XRP is going to do and play along as. Now, before we go through that, let's go start the comment section first. As I said previously, this is a live show, in other words, which means if you do have any questions, put it outside the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer the questions you may have. Let's go inside the comment section first, and then we go straight into the next news, which is Ripple, Chainlink, and a perspective on what XRP's price point could be potentially reaching in a very short period of time. So let's see where we're at. America has probably at least 10 different accents by itself. Same as the UK, I'll be honest. London has a few accents. If you go northwest London to north and northwest London has a different accent to south and southeast London. If you go up north, Liverpool has a different accent. Manchester has a different accent. Newcastle has a different accent, Geordie. Then you go a bit more up, and then you have Scottish accent. You go the other way, you have Welsh accent. You go the other way, you have Irish accent. There's a lot of accents in the UK as well. There are about 50 different accents in America, a different woman every state. My dad went on an Atkins diet and lost so much weight. It's really good diet too, long. A different one, not a woman, yeah. A different one, yeah. Did you see Brad had dinner with Trump last night, Miles? Yes. Sam Shelley, how you doing? Yes. Someone has said it inside the comment section. Now, Ripple, Chainlink, and a perspective. Ripple adapts the Chainlink standard to enhance RLUSD integration in DeFi, which is amazing. Ripple has revealed the adoption of Chainlink's price feeds to enhance the on-chain functionalities of Ripple's USD, RLUSD, the company's USD-pegged stablecoin. Ripple plans to offer developers verifiable pricing data in RLUSD on the Ethereum blockchain to support trade, lending, and other essentially decentralized finance applications. This is a notable development for RLUSD, launched essentially on the XRP ledger and Ethereum December 2024. Ripple further noted that the high quality and reliable data are critical for DeFi applications and in managing risk. Chainlink's price feeds will deliver tamper-proof volume, weighted average prices from global trading environments directly on-chain, essentially ensuring transparency and security. Ripple selected Chainlink price feeds due to several key features that enhance and essentially ensure the accuracy and reliability of RLUSD's data. These include high-quality data from premium essentially providers, decentralized or coral networks, and a strong reputation of frameworks. Chainlink's infrastructure is powered by independent security-reviewed nodes, operated by trusted blockchain teams and traditional enterprises. This decentralized approach minimizes the risk of downtime or manipulation while maintaining high availability even during network congestion. Furthermore, the partnership will enable RLUSD to drive mainstream integration within DeFi platforms with various applications, including cross-border payments, lending, and trading. Ripple's Senior Vice President of Stablecoins, Jack McDonald, stated that providing secure and transparent pricing essentially enhances the stability and decentralized markets. Ripple's RLUSD stablecoin is designed to maintain a one-to-one peg to the US dollars, offering businesses and consumers a stabilized, cost-effective medium for local and cross-border transactions. This integration with Chainlink strengthens the RLUSD availability to interact with various smart contracts and applications within the DeFi ecosystem. Moreover, the adoption of Chainlink price feeds aligns with Ripple's broader visions of driving stablecoin-based financial transactions, and Ripple aims to make RLUSD a trusted DeFi asset with decentralized, secure, and data infrastructure. And on top of that, a renowned US chart trader, Peter Bandit. Now, Peter Bandit has given his perspectives on many aspects of the crypto space and the stock market, and he is definitely a renowned US chart trader, without a doubt. And Peter Bandit has, for once, made a bold prediction, not on Bitcoin, which he typically does, or the stock market, but on XRP. So at the same time this news came out regarding Chainlink essentially and XRP, this one came out as well, but it's just one paragraph, because this is just his perspective. So, renowned US chart trader Peter Bandit has made a bold prediction regarding Ripple XRP, suggesting that the market capitalization could exceed $500 billion, not stay on $500 billion and reach or minimum $500 billion. No, it's going to touch it and fly over it. If its current chart pattern revolves favorably, with XRP currently trading at $2.42 and a market cap of approximately $139.54 billion, this would represent a monumental leap for the cryptocurrency XRP to be touching $500 billion and beyond, is what Peter Bandit is suggesting. Now, Peter Bandit is someone that only talks about Bitcoin. When it comes to charts, he's only a Bitcoin person mainly, or a stock person mainly. So he never talks about XRP, to be fairly honest. And he just came out today randomly saying, in his point of view, what he sees on the charts is going to be happening, and all the things that are happening right now around the world with XRP and Ripple and so on, the partnerships and the contracts, and how we're going into a Trump presidency. He's seeing XRP touch $500 billion in terms of their market cap and going beyond $500 billion. And right now we're sitting at roughly $139 billion. So $139 billion and a jump to $500 billion and a jump beyond that. Look, I just want to say one thing as well regarding the Chainlink and the XRP situation as well. Amazing partnership between Ripple and essentially Chainlink. But what it does seem like is happening is that Ripple is definitely positioning themselves for a major takeoff, without a doubt. So what Peter is seeing in the charts is what I can see in the data in terms of reports. And the paperwork is also telling me that Ripple is preparing itself, or XRP is preparing itself for a massive takeoff. 100% in my perspective. So from Peter's perspective, he's looking at charts and telling everyone he's seeing XRP do a massive increase. And my perspective is from essentially contracts and PDF documentations, recent documentations as well, of all the contracts they're making. And especially in the last 6 weeks, they signed more contracts in place than they did in the last 6 months, essentially with Ripple. And this new integration with essentially Chainlink, they're preparing themselves for something major. And that Ripple has opened their doors 75% more to American institutions, which they could have never done before. Something is definitely in the works, and XRP is preparing itself for a takeoff, a massive takeoff. On that note, we have come to the endings of this live. All good things must come to an end, which they have now. So, if you are watching this for the first time ever, this was the CMF Live. Stands for Crypto Mouse Family. And my name is Miles. I go by the persona of Crypto Mouse. And I'm the host of this live Monday to Friday, every night, Monday to Friday, 11:25 p.m. UK time onwards. You can tune into this live where I talk about the most recent news that's happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, AI, politics, regulations, vital information for you to know about regarding the world completely transforming into a digital space. And the disclaimer of this live show, as always, is not financial advice, not political advice, and whatever I say is only for entertainment purposes. If you already haven't, follow. If you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe. If you already haven't, put a comment outside the video on YouTube and like the video on YouTube. If you already haven't, also on X, follow me on X, retweet, comment, share live. If you already have done all of those things, like, comment, follow, retweet, and share, thank you so much for doing that. If you already haven't, please go and do it. And I will be seeing everybody tomorrow, pretty much. Same timing as usual. Sounds amazing. Sounds promising. Let's go with Zach. Love hearing such words of wisdom. Thanks, Miles. Great live show. See you same tomorrow. Artistic, see you tomorrow, same time as usual. Thank you for the kind words. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Great live, Miles. Good night, CMF. Comatose. Let's go. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Good night, Miles and CMF. Gino, see you tomorrow, same time as usual. Good night, Miles, and we will see you tomorrow night. Funky brother, see you tomorrow night, same time as usual. Thanks, Miles, for everything. No problem, Scott. See you tomorrow, brother, same time as usual. Good night, Miles and CMF. Thank you and have a great night. Mike, see you tomorrow, brother, same time as usual as well. Take care, Miles and family. See you tomorrow, Ray, same time as usual. Have a great day all night to my CMF. Love and respect. Let's go, Scott. Love and respect, brother. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Good night, Miles. Cheers, Zach. Let's go. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Good night, Miles and CMF. Thanks, Miles, for great news. See you tomorrow. Free and forever. See you tomorrow, brother, same time as usual. CMF, love you and leave you till tomorrow. Have a good night. Funky brother, let's go. See you tomorrow, same time as usual, brother. Night, Miles. Pablo, see you tomorrow, same time as usual. Good night, Miles and CMF. Carol, see you tomorrow, same time as usual. Thanks, Miles. The Big Never, let's go. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Thanks, Miles. Take care, mate. Ronnie, see you tomorrow, same time as usual as well, brother. So much more confident thanks to your guidance. Susie, let's go. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Have you any idea when we will be seeing RLUSD on exchanges? There are some exchanges that listed. We'll be probably seeing this year a lot more exchanges implementing it, definitely. What would the price of XRP with a $500 billion market cap be? Quite high. Thanks, Legend. Night and day, CMF. Shelly, see you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Thanks, Miles. Good night to you all. Stormy, let's go. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Thanks again, Miles. Have a good night, everyone. See you tomorrow. Orphan, see you tomorrow, sometimes usual as well. Thanks, Miles. See you tomorrow, everyone. Ghost Spinner, see you tomorrow, sometimes usual as well. Thank you, Miles, for all you do, for all you do for us. Joe, no problem. See you tomorrow, sometimes usual as well. Good night, Miles, and all CMF. Thank you for a great live and news. Let's go. JP, see you tomorrow, sometimes usual. Still waiting on the good day, mate, Aussie accent. We appreciate all you do. Thanks. Thank you. Good night, all. Lena, let's go. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Or are you avoiding me? No, you're avoiding me. No. I don't know how to do an Aussie accent, I'll be honest. Good day, mate. It's the closest you're probably going to get to an Aussie accent. I'll be seeing everybody tomorrow. Same timing as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you are around the world. If you already haven't, subscribe, follow, retweet, share, comment. We also have a free Telegram group, which anybody is more than welcome to join, and a free X communities page for this live. Also, anybody is more than welcome to join. Everything I do is completely free of source. I'll be seeing everybody tomorrow. Same timing as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you're around the world. CMF, see you tomorrow, same time as usual. See everyone tomorrow, same time as usual. Miles, with our differences, we are all going to be rich. Facts. Let's go, Scott. See everybody tomorrow, same time as usual. It was good, Miles. It was good, Miles. Thank you, Ghost Spinner. See everyone tomorrow, same timing as usual.